The Washington apple is as much of the state's heritage as aerospace, computers, and coffee, maybe even more so. Like so many crops in Washington, apples got their start on the Fort Vancouver farm in the 1820s. This farm helped sustain the area traders and trappers. By the late 1830s, the fort was growing grains, forage crops, and fruits and vegetables. As more people moved to the state, fruit trees provided the new settlers with more diverse food choices. By the 1850s and 60s, apple orchards were growing throughout western and southeastern Washington. Most people grew them for their own use or for local sales. Then, in the 1880s and 90s, the railroads hit the area. They made markets thousands of miles away on the East Coast much more accessible for trade from the Pacific Northwest. At the same time, large-scale irrigation projects in the Yakima and Wenatchee valleys were underway. This expansion led to more competition among growers. High-quality standards became necessary to provide the best fruit for the marketplace, and growers began forming partnerships or cooperatives to market their fruit. Growers learned how to prune, fertilize, and manage pest pressures in their orchards. Research conducted by Washington State College helped growers understand what varieties and farming practices worked best in the region. Cooperatives marketed their apples under branded names that people could remember. Brands like Apple Kids, Good Pickins, Dainty Maid, and Chief Joseph set each co-op apart. Growers planted apple varieties that not only tasted better, but also stored better. Growers stored their apples in warehouses or cold storage facilities to meet consumer demand for 3 to 6 months after harvest. As technology improved, growers added fans and ventilation to circulate air inside the cold storages. Some also used ice to keep the facilities and apples cool until they could be shipped to a market. These same basic ideas are used today. At the same time, businesses began processing the apples that were not sold in the fresh market into ciders, applesauce, and other products. By the 1910s, Wenatchee and Yakima valleys emerged as the major growing regions in the state, and both the Great Northern and Northern Pacific Railroads were extremely interested in marketing these two crops to buyers on the East Coast. In the 1920s, Washington surpassed New York as the leading apple-producing state in the nation. Refrigerated rail cars and steamships made it possible to ship apples overseas and across the nation with less spoilage during transport. After the Great Depression, growers realized the importance of a consistent statewide marketing entity. The Washington State Apple Commission was formed in 1937 by the state legislature to promote education, advertising, and market development on behalf of all growers within the state. The commission is funded in part by growers and works to market Washington apples to the public in export markets. During World War II, there was a shortage in rail cars, which made the apple industry turn to refrigerated trucks for transport. This change stuck, and by 1980, trucks moved 90% of the apple crop. Today, Washington's pristine land and water still produce the highest quality apples in the world. Growers are using new technologies to ensure the highest standards in food and worker safety in orchards throughout the state. Washington apples can be found on market shelves around the world thanks to the legacy of their pioneers.